Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rehmat Empowerment Wala here. Um, I'm with Judith Quin today, and she's from London, and she's a vocal confidence and sound healing coach or healer, you would say. So it's really amazing and it's really wonderful. We would get to know what it's all about. So let's welcome Judith in Empowering Minds, and let's see how she empowers our minds. So, hello, Judith. How are you?
Thank you very much. Well, as today I have been emotional, um, but I it's a good thing. It's one of those things I work very much with when you have a revelation. So I've had a really big emotional revelation about a stress and a tension and a block and a challenge in my life this morning. Thing that has been really frustrating me, and I had a revelation this morning that that was connected to when I was bullied at school. And this is actually about, empowering minds. This is the beautiful thing, right? Because one of the biggest ways you can empower your mind is by deep, deep self-awareness. So let's dive right in with how are you today? Which is an answer which is normally the answer that is normally written. I'm good, thank you. I'm fine. How are you? I don't do that. I do honesty. I've been really emotional today, actually. Um, but the revelation came from there's a situation going on which is causing a lot of frustration. And I realized that the energy under it is very similar to the energy when I was being bullied at school when I was 10, 11, 12. I'm now 50. And this is how our minds work. Our subconscious drives so much of our energy. And I'm feeling it in my heart now and my chest now as I speak about it. It was a feeling that I had of being not wanted. And again, with full honesty, I'm being quite challenged in some of my business stuff at the moment. And it's like, it's that energy of putting everything out there and that not being good enough. And that's what it felt like when I was being bullied. Like I was putting myself out there and people would be going, and I still wasn't wanted in that friendship group. So the magic of this and why it's a good thing, because I've had tears today, right? There's been tears today. The good thing about this, and this is empowering your mind, the most empowering thing you can do for your mind is know yourself deeply. So going, oh, okay, it's that pattern again. I didn't see it in relation to this, to my business, but now I've had the clarity and the revelation. So I can give like 10 to 12-year-old me all the love she needs and ask her gently to step out of my body, please, because 50-year-old me is running my business, not her. She'd much rather be reading, riding a horse, or performing, right? Singing, acting. So I'm like, 10 to 12-year-old me can go and do those things. 50-year-old me is going to look at my business. And that's not the usual answer to how are you? But I think it's so important because, your channel is empowering minds and our subconscious, our experiences from before always, if we aren't aware of it, have the power over our minds. So when we are empowering our minds, what we're really doing is acknowledging our patterns and making the subconscious conscious and tapping into our superconscious, the energy, the vibration of the version of us that exists without that pain, right? Without those horrible memories, and really operates in all our glory and the purity of who we really are without our pain, stress, etc., worry, fear, concerns. So, so that's how I am today. So emotional, and that emotional stress has led to a beautiful revelation. And now I've made that subconscious conscious. It won't have power over me again, because when I feel it coming up, I can do something about it. And this is me as someone who is very blessed. I have grown up in a first world country. I've not grown up under a war zone or in any kind of um, system that assumes as a woman, well, I mean, most countries in the world have not been great for giving women a voice, but at least I've grown up in a country where I can speak up and not be punished for it, by law. So it's those things of, no matter how blessed you are in your life, because we're human, we still have stuff that feels big to us. And that our subconscious brain then makes, well, this is the most important thing. So, yeah, there we go. That's how I am today.
So, grasping from what you have been talking about, so we solve the problems in different stages of of our life differently. Like in childhood, we solve the problems in a different manner, and when we get mature.
Yeah. And also, sometimes in childhood, we don't solve the problems. And so that childhood pain stays with us into adulthood. And it just manifests in different ways. And we don't recognize it because we're not in the same situation. This is a lot of how I work with the vocal confidence and with the sound healing, is helping people recognize what they're holding on to from their past. And it doesn't have to be childhood. I've just worked with a man who has 1,000 people under him at work, um, but still has challenges speaking up and feeling like he deserves a space to have a voice. But his younger self that we worked with was only 7 years younger than he is now, because it was a specific situation when he started a new job. So our previous experiences stay in our cell memory. And this is what I work with. I work with the subconscious brain, I work with the previous experiences, and then through the voice vibration sound element, I work with how that is held in your cells, and how by changing your vibration, literally by sounding different sounds, you're changing your cells vibrate at a different energy, and then being able to recognize and release the elements of our past experiences that have been impacting us without us knowing it. And that's the cleverness of the subconscious, because it's working on operation all the time. But if you make it conscious, and then you can change that energy, you can change the conscious thoughts, you can change your vibration physically, and then you have the power over that. You are empowering yourself.
So you help people get out the stage where they have been stuck and they cannot move forward.
Yes.
Okay, okay, wonderful. So you're a vocal confidence and sound healer. So what is all this about? What is this job? How do you help people?
Sorry, that was an alarm from yesterday just going off.
Oh, no issues, no
Sorry,
issues.
please repeat the question.
I said you are a vocal confidence and sound healer. So could you tell us what is this job and how do you help people with this?
Hmm. What is this job? It it sort of created itself. So it's not a job title that uh, ever existed in my knowledge, but the premise of it is liberating voices to liberate lives, liberating voices from the fear of not feeling good enough to speak up, liberating voices from the fear of public speaking or presentations, or things like, appearing as a guest or hosting a show like this. The fear of liberating voices from a dislike of yourself. Like, there's so many people who like, oh, I don't like my voice. I don't. Well, if you don't like your voice is a reflection of your thoughts and feelings about yourself, about others, about situations that you're in. But largely, your voice is a reflection of your thoughts and feelings about yourself in relation to those other people and in relation to those situations. So, liberating your voice from those things liberates lives, because when you feel more confident in yourself, when you feel like you deserve to take up that space, when you feel like you are plenty good enough, when you feel able to express your thoughts, ideas, opinions without the fear of other people's judgment, or without the fear that someone might laugh at you. That's a very common fear that my clients have. When you do this, it liberates your life because you start speaking up. You start speaking up for yourself. You start setting boundaries. You start speaking about yourself with confidence, with positivity, rather than putting yourself down. So a lot of my people, for example, going for job interviews or wanting a promotion, but actually haven't asked for it. And there's a woman I know who was going for a promotion, or wanted to go for a promotion, but worked with a colleague who she also thought would be really good in the job. So she put her colleague forward rather than herself, because she was waiting for someone to see that she'd be good enough, rather than speaking up for herself and saying, I really want that promotion. So that's how it liberates your life, because you start asking for more, you start setting boundaries. It creates time for the people pleasers who are always saying yes to everyone else and never putting themselves first. You start saying no to things, and that liberates your life, because suddenly you have a weekend back. You're, goodness. Or you have an evening to yourself because you've said, no, actually, I'm going to have this time for me. So yeah, this job is liberating voices to liberate lives.
So, so can we recognize the person's personality through his or her voice?
Sometimes most people wear a mask of some kind. So a lot of my clients are more introverted than extroverted. So is that means they prefer one-to-one communication. They recharge by having time on their own. But very often they'll put a mask on for public, because we live in an extroverted world. So at work, in fact, there's one person who I know very well, who, when I first met them, I assumed was an extrovert like me. I was just like, da da da, full of banter, full of back and forth, like da da da, sarcastic comments, like life and soul of the party. It's not until I got to know him much better that I realized, as soon as he gets home from that, he shuts off and he's like completely exhausted. Um, so a lot of people put masks on, and if they're really good at that, then you won't know it from their voice. But lots of people, yeah, you can tell. And also the other way. So lots of people who aren't very confident, they'll put the mask of confidence on. So there might be someone who's really loud and really brash and like, yep, I've got this. Yep. And they're quite assertive and short and sharp. And you might think, oh, they're not a nice person. But actually, that's their mask that they put on to pretend that they're coping. I've got this. Whereas underneath, they're going, I don't know anything. So, so for both ways, it it is possible to mask, but that's very draining for the individual concerned. And then you have, the majority of people who if they're not expending that much energy on their mask, you can tell how someone feels. Like if someone is very quietly spoken, you can um, you can assume that, maybe they're more introverted. You can tell that they might prefer one-to-one conversation. They may feel really unheard. So if you're a leader and you've got someone in your team who is quietly spoken or who doesn't speak up much, it may be that is because they have learned it's too much effort for them to try and fight over the louder people. And it's not that they're not interested, it's just that people don't take the time. So if you're a leader and you've got people like that in your team, go and speak to them one-to-one and ask and then listen. And that's the hardest bit for people like me, because someone gives us something and we find it inspiring and I go, yes, and you're like, and that person sat there going, I hadn't finished, and this is why I don't talk. because no one ever lets me have the time to think and process and express, and they operate slower. So, and then people who are like me, so quite loud and naturally fast and flowy. You might notice I do a lot of hand movements. So you can tell that. So if the people are naturally speaking like this, and they're like da 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 dee 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 dee, they're always quite. They speak quickly. Their movements are quite quick. You can probably tell that you can judge that they're probably have a short attention span, um, and are enthusiastic about most things, but might need just to be asked to slow down a bit or take one thing at a time. Um, so, there are things you can tell from a voice, but there are also a lot of people out there wearing a lot of very good masks.
I really like how you animate yourself, the animations you use while expressing yourself. That's very amazing.
Yeah, I can't. It's like when I'm presenting, when I'm presenter me, I do control them because they can be distracting for some people. Um, but it's not a conscious thing. I consciously reduce them when I'm doing formal presentations or um, formal speaking engagements because it can be distracting, and gesticulation can be really useful to help enhance a point. But if there's too much, it can be really distracting. So, but I'm just a naturally expressive person, so
No, I found it amusing, and I think it helps in understanding more. Like when you feel, when you act on it, when you deliver through your facial expressions, your body language. I think your message
mm,
would reach to a great certain level.
yeah. And that's something I do with the vocal confidence work, is help people to feel comfortable allowing their expressions to reflect the intention of the words. And that's really important because intention helps create tone, intention helps set pace, and intention helps enhance the message. And so, if you know that you are speaking to a room full of, let's say, more introverted people, you will want to slow down, be a bit quieter, not have so many gesticulations. If you are wanting to engage people, however, and maybe create a bit of energy, you also do want then to have a little bit more energy in your voice, and maybe a little bit, and you reach out to them and say, right, I invite you to come with me on this journey. I know you might find it challenging, so you can use that to change the energy in the room. And if you had a room full of people like me, well, a lot of people would run away if you had a room full of people like me, but but you might want to match their energy and enthusiasm for a bit, and then you might want to bring them in. It's like, right, and now I just invite you just to take a minute, and you might then want to deliberately slow your voice down to help them calm down. So these are all, again, subconscious things that are going on in people's brain when you're speaking to them, and that's also how you can help really get your message across. But intention is everything.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miss
And thank
Maria.
you for the comment, Maria.
Thank you, Miss Maria Aslam, for watching, and thank you for a beautiful comment. Okay, so we have the our body posture confidence is one thing, right? We show that we are confident, like we dress good, we move our body, and we smile. So what are the vocal confidence features or attributes that shows that we are a confident person?
Articulation,
Okay.
um, and projection. So allowing yourself to be heard. Now, projection doesn't necessarily mean just loud. Like, my voice is naturally quite loud, but I can really project. But then I'm a professionally trained actor and singer, so I should be able
Wow.
to. Um, but So, but the most important thing is allowing yourself to be heard. So articulation. So if someone's very, 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 very quiet, you can that there's never very few voices have a reason to be that quiet. So there's a subconscious, there's a mental thing going on there saying, I don't deserve to be heard, or I don't expect to be heard, or maybe being loud is dangerous. Maybe speaking up or having an opinion is dangerous. Right? There's plenty of places in the world at the moment. Well, I think everywhere in the world, having too strong an opinion on anything at the moment is dangerous. Um, people lose their careers for saying something. So people's voices actually these days are really starting to be censored, interestingly, in ways they haven't in the past. But confidence normally comes with a volume that is easy to hear, and again, not too loud. If it's too loud, that might be a mask. So if someone comes in and they're like, "Oh yes, right, okay," you're like, "Ooh," they may naturally be that big, but that might be a mask. That might be like, "Right, I've geared myself up for this. I'm going to pretend to be confident, and confident people are loud, so I'm going to be really loud." Right? So an easy to hear volume and articulation, because a signifier of lack of confidence is mumbling, which is, if you don't open your mouth very wide and you don't really articulate and you keep all your words in your mouth like this. So articulation and allowing your teeth, tongue, and lips to actually form the words that you're saying. So that's if someone is clear to hear, right, you can be calm, you can be actually, you can be quite quiet and still really confident. But if you know you're quiet, you're definitely articulating your words. So they can still, like, there's a thing, right? It's quietly confident. So you don't have to, it's like, well, I have an opinion to share, and if you'd like to hear it. So sometimes, if you're really confident, try going quieter and see the impact it has, because then that's saying, well, I'm going to carry on speaking and I'm sharing something really important, but if you don't want to listen, you're going to miss out. So clarity is key, really.
Wonderful. And I'm really loving how you change your pitch with each sentence, and to emphasize on every sentence, the different pitches you make and you sound. And I'm really loving to hear that. I
Well,
hope I
I think
can
it's just,
learn one or two things from you now.
yay, that's what I hope to. That's why I'm here.
Thank you so much. So we have talked about much about vocal confidence. Now it comes to sound healing. So how did you discover that sound may heal our body?
Oh, I went to an event in 2008.
Okay.
Um, yeah, sound healing's become very popular in the last year or two. And so I'm now having to sort of put in front of my things, um, voice vibration sound healer since 2011. So in 2008, I went to an event with 4 vocal sound healers, and it was really powerful. And it's while I was still an actress, so I was then on tour for a while. And so I didn't actually do the sound healing work until the end of 2010, beginning of 2011. And through the sound healing that I received on a course with a man called Stuart Pearce, I released so many of those things we were talking about earlier, those childhood experiences in relation to my voice, feeling like, even though I've always been confident, some of that confidence was a little bit of a mask, right? Some of it was like, okay, this is the way I'm going to be, feeling worthy of being heard. I had huge vocal confidence issues around my singing voice because I loved singing, but people made fun of me. And doing the sound healing, doing the vocal sound healing, it helped me reconnect to the whole of my body and all the emotions I'd been storing away in different parts of my body that I hadn't looked at for years, and gave them a voice. So I released a lot of pain around specifically my relationship with my father, which I didn't really have much of a relationship with my father. I came to a whole different way, changing my mindset, a whole different way of thinking about myself, about how I was interacting in the world. Um, so that's when I discovered sound healing. And then I started using it with my massage clients because I was a massage therapist to support my acting career, because acting is a very sporadic career. And I started sounding on people to send my sound waves through their body, and you literally the sound vibrations. If you just place your hand on your chest and hum, mm,
Yes.
you'll feel a vibration either in your chest or in your nose, in your lips, in your jaw. But your voice is vibration, and each time you speak and when you sound, you can change the vibration of your cells. And your cells hold on; they have cell memory. So if your cells are holding on to emotions, sometimes you hit like the magic pitch, which brings up big emotions. You'll have experienced this. Like a song might come on the radio, and you'll suddenly get emotional, or you might get angry, like, or someone might have a tone of voice, or there might be a sound that makes you go, right? A sound you really don't like. It's because that tone is resonating alongside in a way with your emotions that you have either positive or negative connections to. So by sounding yourself, or I started by sounding on people and then I encouraged them to start sounding for themselves, you can release physical, mental, energetic, and emotional pain, tension, stress by literally physically changing your vibration.
Wonderful. And how many years have you? It's been that you are practicing this, and how many people you have treated with this sound healing?
Wow. I mean, since 2011,
Okay.
and I don't know, hundreds, if not more, if not thousands. Both I have online sonic meditation. So you use sounding for meditation to switch the brain off, but you're doing the sounds. So it helps you just sit back and let those things go away. Whether that is on my retreats, where I get people sounding out their pain and their problems and sounding in the energy they would love to create, because that's the magic. You can also create the energy you'd like to be in through sound. Um, So yeah, so I've been doing this now 13 years. So one or two people.
Wonderful. Okay. So I think that question was a bit irrelevant. If you have been working for 13 years, so obviously you have treated thousands of patients.
Yeah.
So I take back that question. Okay.
I've
So
recently last year I did a small proof of concept study with a doctor, with a medical doctor.
okay.
She was a general practitioner here. She was a partner in a practice, and she's also a research fellow at King's College London. And her specialism is pain and the connection between emotions and physical pain. And we did a small proof of concept study using the sounding process to help people release the physical pain that they've had. So any chronic pain they've had, so pain longer than 6 months. And one woman, she was sounding the pain for her shoulder. She'd had it for 20 years. It went away because there was an emotional connection between the pain in her shoulder and her her mindset around it. But by using the sounding process where we visualize the pain in a different way, we give the pain, we allow the pain to have a voice, and then we give the pain that voice. So there can be some really very strange sounds that come out there. And then we find a sound that soothes the pain and that nurtures it and lets the pain know that we can take care of it. And I think there was a 76% overall reduction in pain through using the sounding process. So the only thing it really didn't work for was headaches and migraines.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. So few months ago, I saw Sarihan Allahwala's video, and you were, blowing through her back, and you were, sounding through her back, and he felt really good after that. In the video, he said that he felt really different and very well. So how did that work? You sounding through her back, or
Like this.
yeah, like
The,
this.
the back goes here, and I sound like this. Oh, and the vibrations from my voice travel through your body. So, ooh, I'm trying to think where. So again, if you just go back to your hum, you'll feel the vibration of your voice in your body. But because I was doing it, he was receiving like full, like they use sound waves to break down kidney stones, right? The sound waves travel through the body. There are some specific electronic sound waves, not vocal ones,
Yeah.
that people use that are breaking down some cancer cells.
Okay.
They use ultra high frequency sound waves to fix muscles. Like, so if a sports person has a muscle tear, they'll use ultra high frequency sound to literally change the vibration. So when I'm doing that on someone's body, back, then they are feeling the sound waves travel through the body. And if there's a tension in the body, the sound waves get there, and it's like the body will go, no, and that's where either emotions can come out, or the body will go, oh, that's exactly what I need, and then it'll start releasing. So it's like a sonic massage with sound healing at the same time.
Wonderful. And if someone wants to do this, what you are doing, how can he or she do this?
Um, good question. I am in the process of creating a training
Okay.
so that people can learn this from me. But there are other places, there's places, sound healing colleges where people teach different forms of sound healing. There's a lot of instrumental sound healing courses out there, but I am in the process of creating one myself because several people have asked.
Wonderful. So, any tips if I want to do it to myself? How can I do it to myself? Any one or two
Okay.
tips?
Yeah. Firstly, if you're stressed, like in a frenetic, like, oh, there's so much going on, stressed, the thing we've just been doing, hand on chest, close eyes, breathe, and imagine sending the sound to your heart, to your hand on just a hum, or if you like, a lovely open ha for heart. Ha, ha. So that's really good for calming. So if you're any kind of situation where you need calming, if you are feeling a bit heavy or bleh, then I would suggest you sound the heaviness. So you give the heaviness a voice. So you sound, um, um, right? So I've been feeling a bit like that today. So I've been doing a lot of that. So you allow it. So you're not trying to hide it, but you're letting it out. You're not holding it in, you're letting it out. And then you can change your energy into the state you'd like to be in. So you imagine, how would I like to feel? What kind of sound would that be? And that's normally a higher, faster sound. So you might be sounding like, and you might feel self-conscious. So you might start giggling or laughing, like, oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing. And then I say, good, go for it, because there's no higher vibration sound than laughter. So if you're wanting to like ah, but if you feel really silly and you're like, oh gosh, I feel really silly, go with the laughter. Laugh, 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 because laughter is the highest vibration human sound there is. And it's contagious and you will feel good. It will release endorphins. So those are the three key tips. So if you want to calm yourself, low and slow into your heart. If you're feeling ugh, give it a voice, and then raise your vibration and be in that higher, faster vibration, and you will change your state physically, mentally, energetically, and emotionally. And therefore, also, maybe if you wish, spiritually. Right? Most religions have sound as an intrinsic part. So, whether it is Islam, Judaism, Christianity, right? In Christianity, the churches. I mean, my churches are just one sound echo chamber, and people sing hymns, and you say in all religions, people say prayers, right? You give voice to your vibration, to the energy that you're wanting. In Islam, you have the beautiful call to prayer, right, coming out from them. I love being in like Islamic countries, and you're 5 o'clock in the morning, and you hear the call to prayer. And I'm glad I'm not getting up, but it is beautiful. um,
Five
in
times a day.
Judaism, yeah, I know. In Judaism, they sing the Torah, they have the cantors. So in every religion, they know that sounding your voice brings you closer to God, well, whatever your word name for God is. Um, Tibetan chanting, right? So it is anciently known that by sounding you can raise your vibration.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Miss Shabnam Jalal, for your comment and for your appearance. Okay, so last two questions, Judith. Thank you so much for your time. One best advice you have ever received in your life, and one worst advice you have ever received in your life.
Oh, okay. Let's do the worst advice first because we want to finish on a high, not a low.
Yeah, wonderful.
Um, the worst advice. You can tell how much I actually listened to any of my advice because um, worst advice. What advice was I given? Um,
Anyone come into your mind?
oh, yeah, there is. It's so I always wanted to be an actress. Right? Um, I always wanted to be an actress. My mum was very supportive of that, but generally society, everyone was like, "Oh, difficult profession, difficult." And the advice was, well, you know, make you need to have something else to fall back on. Now, yes, practically speaking, most actors are out of work at any one time. But that advice very much put the seed in my mind that becoming successful at acting wasn't possible, even though there is, like everywhere, there is proof that it is possible. So that advice of caution, of yeah, not putting yourself where you want to be. That was really bad advice. Um, the best advice I've ever received. I know the advice I'd give. The best advice I've ever received. Um, Follow your heart.
Wow. Yes, wonderful. And the best advice you have given?
When it comes to living your life and making decisions and making choices, ask yourself, how does this help me take one step towards where I would like to be?
Wow, intensive. Wonderful. Thank you. And last question. Any lesson you learned from your 20s you would like to share with all those who are in their 20s at the moment?
From my 20s. Right. Well, that was 20 to 30 years ago. So um, I spent 2.5 years of my 20s backpacking around the world.
Wow.
And yeah, and again, I was following my heart and following my intuition. And I would say, yeah, I would say that, like, if you're in your 20s, follow your passion, is what I would say. follow your passion. That's what I learned. I did what I loved, and again, if I were to go back to me in my 20s, I would say, I had a really clear focus of what I wanted to do. So, um, but I didn't do that bit of advice of ask yourself, how does this take me one step closer? Um, but yeah, follow your passion. Right? Don't worry,
Wonderful.
there's always time.
Absolutely, absolutely. One question just arose in my mind, and with your permission, I'd like to ask you. Although it's 40 minutes, but if you have 1 or 2 minutes more for me,
I do have about 2 minutes more. Yes.
wonderful. Why we value things in hindsight? I mean, why we don't value things when they are present in front of us? We value things in hindsight, right? Why it's do that?
Mm. I'm going to turn that question around a little bit because I'm very blessed. I think maybe because I have always lived my passion. So I don't have a lot of regrets. Um, so I think, yeah, like I look back and I don't wish I'd done things differently, or I don't go, oh, I had so much then. Um, and I'm not one of those women in her 50s who's like, oh, if only I'd known. I think that's the thing. Why we do. There's one thing, like, and it's about about my appearance because someone once made a comment and it made me think differently about me. And I think it's because we see with a different lens. We see we see eyes through eyes that value different things. If I'm lucky, I've always been very clear on my values and I've mostly lived to them. Um, I'm just thinking the one thing in my hindsight would have been about an investment that I didn't make. But I did the best I could at the time with the knowledge and skills I had. So I think we look back because, very often it's if you look back on regrets, you look back with hindsight. And I don't have many regrets. So maybe that just enhances my follow your passions advice.
Wonderful. So, not the right question at the right time, right? Thank you so much, Judith, for your valuable time. And I really learned so much from you. And thank you so much that you shared pearls of wisdom with us. Thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. My
I hope
pleasure. It's been a
you
delight.
liked it too. You had a great time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judith. So, ladies and gentlemen, you were watching Judith Quinn from London, and you saw how she empowered my mind. And I hopefully she has empowered your mind too. So, you were watching me on my Facebook, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn, Rahmat Empowerment Wala. Keep watching and keep learning, keep empowering your minds. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.